Welcome in. This is one of my favorite classes to teach. I am so glad that you are here. And if you haven't done so already, go and grab an essential oil, your favorite one. Grab some frankincense because we'll be using frankincense, but go and grab whatever is your favorite calming essential oil because we will use that as well. So have your favorite oils out next to you and block off about 45 minutes for this class. Grab a journal, grab something to drink, and we will dive in and start talking about how we can release and renew in the new year. Because this is a time that I think a lot of people are telling us that we need to add more and do more resolutions and add more on our plate. And I'm actually going to tell you the opposite. And we're going to focus in and do a couple little exercises to help you get really clear on how we can do less and what we can take off our plate and how we can tune into our intuition and our inner wisdom to lead us to that next step of where to go. Even if we're not sure what that next step looks like, we're going to do some tools to help you figure out what that is. And it starts with your why. We hear that a lot. Simon Sinek talks about that a lot. But I want to ask one, do you make New Year's resolutions? You can type in and let me know. Or if you have made a resolution, have you already broken your resolution yet? Because statistically, did you know that 95% of people will break their resolution by January 15th? And we're at January 22nd already. And I got really curious as to why this was and started thinking about, and I would argue that it has to do with your resolution is not in touch with your big why and your vision and your purpose moving forward. And they say your why should make you cry. It should be emotional. It's your anchor. It's going to help to ground you. And that's important because we have to know where we're going in order to get there. And knowing what your deeper vision is going to help you with the how to get there. You're not always going to feel motivated. Motivation is fleeting. It's actually discipline and living a disciplined life that is going to help you to see these transformations and miracles that come in with this. Yeah, stopped making resolutions. Me too, girl. Me too. Because it felt heavy. And this is also winter time. We're still in adrenal healing season. And so it actually doesn't make sense to be go, 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 do, do, do. I'm going to talk to you about things like get more sleep and get quiet and take care of yourself and honor your body in the seasons that you're in. These are all really important things. And we don't really hear that message a lot, especially this time of year. It's a lot of new year, new you kind of stuff. And I'm here to tell you, we don't need a new you. You're good just the way that you are. And we're going to have some tools to help you with what the next steps look like for you. So we're going to write down what you do on this visioning exercise. So get to a quiet place if you can, grab a pen and paper. We're going to start asking these deeper questions and see what comes up for you. And an example of this would be weight loss. People may say, I want to lose an extra 10 pounds, but why? How is that actually going to change your life? How is that going to affect you in a different way? It needs to evoke an emotion because when the challenging times come, and they will, this is going to anchor and ground you. If you want to lose an extra 10 pounds because you want to go backpacking with your grandkids on this big family trip, that's going to be a different grounding energy than I want to lose 10 pounds. So the more that we can, and we ask why questions, well, why? Well, why do we want to do that? Well, why do we want to do that? To kind of get to the underlying root there. It's like peeling back those layers of the onion. Yeah, letting yourself get more sleep. And I think it's important, and you bring up such a good point of it's hard to let yourself not be productive. But I would say that getting good sleep is productive because it's going to help you to have more energy and feel more focused and be more present. And it's shifting the mindset a little bit out of we're not human doings, we're human beings. And so much of being in that state of flow and seeing where the next step is going to be really comes from being present and letting things go and realizing that rest and sleep is an action verb. It is doing something, even though it doesn't always feel like it. And by surrendering and releasing into that, we can actually be more productive by doing less, which sounds counterintuitive, but is actually true. So I want to take you through a visioning exercise that my mentor, Dr. Jessica Drummond, took me through. And if you have an essential oil, grab your frankincense oil. If you don't have frank, go and grab whatever your favorite calming oil is. And this is actually emotionally the oil of truth, which is why I like to use it for this exercise. So you can put some on your wrists, you can put a little bit behind your ears, you can even put a little bit over your third eye if you want, kind of in between your eyes, and inhale it. So I like to do a little palm inhale. So you can put some in your palm and rub it together and cup it over your mouth and nose. And take a couple deep centering breaths. This is going to help us emotionally with enlightenment and wisdom. And as we do this, just be open to whatever information comes in. If you've done this exercise before, you may notice that new things are going to come in with that. That could be really powerful. So you may see different things with this. But I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and a big cleansing breath out. And I want you to start by putting your feet firmly planted on the floor. And we're going to do a body scan. We're just going to notice what your body feels like in this space. We're not trying to change anything. We're just bringing awareness to the body. So noticing if there's any tightness or tension that we're holding on to, and breathing deep into those spaces. So big breath in and noticing, are you holding any tension in your head, in your neck, in your shoulders? And if so, can you bring some awareness to those places and start to release them a little bit? Just breathe into those spaces. You're holding any tension in your shoulders or arms or chest or torso. Breathing deep into those places and relaxing and releasing. Are you holding any tension in your abdomen, in your hips, in your legs, in your calves, in your toes? Big deep breath in, breathing deep into those places and releasing. And I want you to imagine that you are standing on a path, and this path stretches out far, far in front of you and far, far behind you. And this path represents your life up to this point. And just notice what it looks like. Where are you? Are you outside? Notice and take it in with all of your sensations. Do you feel the sun on your skin? Do you smell any smells, maybe flowers or an ocean breeze? Do you hear any sounds, any nature sounds? Can you taste anything like the salty sea air? Really taking this in with all of your senses. Noticing what you look like. What are you wearing? Are you by yourself? Or is somebody else with you? And I want you to go ahead and start walking down this path. And as you walk down this path, you approach a dwelling. And notice what the dwelling looks like. What's the architecture like? What is it? What color is it? And go ahead and walk up to the dwelling. And I want you to knock on the door. And you're surprised, but not surprised to see a familiar face answer the door. And this friendly face is your most authentic future self. And she greets you with a big hug, and she welcomes you inside. And just notice what the architecture looks like inside. What are the colors? What does it feel like? Are there any smells? Is there anything cooking in the kitchen? Really take it in. And she invites you to sit at a table with her and have a cup of tea. And this is your chance to ask your most authentic future self, what is one thing that I can do for my health and wellness right now? And just be open to the answers that you're going to receive. Oftentimes, they're very simple. It may be one word, it may be one sentence. Just take that in, be open to receiving what that answer is for you. And this is also your chance to ask your most authentic future self anything that's been feeling heavy on you, that feels like a burden, that's maybe weighing you down. Maybe you have a decision to make. Maybe you've been thinking about or contemplating something for a while and you're not sure what the next step is. Go ahead and ask. And I'll give you a minute to just receive those answers from your future self. I'm going to let your future self wrap up whatever last wisdom she wants to share with you. And you give her a big hug. And as you hug her, she starts to dissipate into this bright white healing light that goes directly into your chest, because this is where your most authentic future self resides, always present, always guiding you, always supporting you. I want you to feel yourself anchored in again, feel your feet on the floor, taking a big breath in and a big breath out. Start to slowly wiggle your fingers and toes. One more big breath in and let it go. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. How do you feel? Do you feel a little bit different? If you're open, you can type in and share what wisdom came up for you. Was there a word? Was there a sentence? Did you get some answers? Oh, you feel lighter. Good. Good. And that's your intuition or your inner wisdom. And that voice is always covered with this tone of grace and love. We can sometimes get that confused with the inner critic, which is usually critical, it's criticizing. I think of the inner critic as the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 wah. It's just kind of like, oh, it's there. So your intuition, your inner wisdom is going to be that, yes. Oh, I love it. You said you feel more in touch. You feel lighter. That you have peace. That's how we know we're moving in the right direction with decisions and things. Oh, message, practice my yoga and breath work daily and use my essential oils for my healing and others. Oh, chills, chills. That's so beautiful. I love to hear the messages that come in because they are always so beautiful and surrounded in that tone of love. I have gifts and the world is waiting for me. Ah, so good. So, so good. So write that down. Write that down in your journal or your phone or wherever you're going to see it, because that's a really important message that's coming in. And when we start to feel crazy and that sense of overwhelm can come in, you can always come back to your breath and come back to that message or that word. And I would say, whatever creative outlet sounds best for you. Some people like to journal. So maybe after this, you can journal it all out, what you saw, the message, what your future self looked like. Usually people will talk about, what's interesting is in the United States, people will talk about how their future self glows. She looks very vibrant and radiant, and she has this confidence and she takes care of herself. And let me know if that's how you saw your future self. In Europe and in the UK, they actually see a future self of what would happen if they don't take care of themselves, or if they don't start to honor their path or their journey, which is really interesting. I think there's a cultural thing that can kind of come up and show some differences there. But just notice that. And I would challenge you to do something creative with your vision. Write it out. Or if you're a painter or you draw it out. Or you could make a Pinterest board that represents that vision and that message that you got. But you want to see it in as much detail as possible and write out everything that you want to create there. And ask yourself, why? Why is it important to, if we're going back to some of these messages, practice my yoga and breath work and use essential oils for my healing in others? Or why is it important to know that you have gifts to share with the world? And noticing that. And yes, okay, so your future self, I love this, glowing, lighter, she's emitting light, she's love and peace. And then finding things maybe around Pinterest, images, graphics that you see that and go, oh, and that takes you back to your vision. And you could create a digital vision board with these pictures. You could print it out on 2-piece paper and put it on your mirror, on your bathroom mirror, or in your car, or somewhere where you're going to see that, because it's going to ground you in with your vision. So mine is, I'm walking on the beach and I can see those footprints in the sand. I actually found a little necklace that had footprints in the sand. And it was funny, when I saw it, I resonated with it, but I couldn't figure out exactly why. And then I realized, oh, it's grounding. It's bringing me back to my vision and my anchor. And so I actually have that hanging on my vision board. So when I see that, it helps and it brings me back and it anchors me into that. So you want to see that, see and feel your healthy, vibrant self. And you can do this. You can visualize that, what your future self looked like, for just a few minutes, maybe 30 seconds in the morning and right before you get out of bed, or right before you go to bed at night. If you can do it in the morning and the night, that's going to be really powerful. And remember that advice that your most authentic future self gave you. So the brain doesn't know the difference between what we visualize and what we're thinking and what's actually happening. And so you start to ground in that, seeing your future self, seeing yourself lighter and glowing and more peaceful and in that space. And this is brain neural retraining. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, because it's been a fascinating tool for my healing. And I'll give you a little exercise that we can play with this more. But I want you to start to visualize that. This is finding your anchor and finding something that resonates. And maybe it's a picture of your younger self, a time where you felt really good and really vibrant or strong. And maybe you put that picture up on your bathroom wall so that you can see it and start to resonate in and pull in those things. Maybe there's music that really lights you up and feels good. Maybe it's your favorite songs from high school or college, and listening to those. These are powerful things. Visioning, pulling in the essential oils. That's why I had you put oils on to ground you into this before we started. Music. These are all ways that we can affect the central nervous system to really support us. So the next idea, and with all of this, take what resonates, disregard the rest. You don't have to do everything in this. In fact, I would recommend that you pick just one or two things from this and go from there, whichever one resonates with you. But a fun idea that I like, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, which can feel really overwhelming and heavy, is to actually get a gratitude jar. Any jar, can be a mason jar, you can go to Hobby Lobby or Joann's and get a fun jar, whatever you want. You could go thrift shopping and find a jar, but write down anything amazing that happens to you in 2022. Anything that you're grateful for. What happened? And put it on a piece of paper and put it in the jar. And what's really cool is on New Year's Eve, you can sit down with your family or make a little ritual for yourself and pull it out and start to read these things. Because sometimes I think we forget in the day to day, the little miracles that we experienced or good things that happened. And you can go back and remember, and they can be big or small. Our dryer broke, and my dad happened to have a dryer that he fixed that was on hand, and he brought it over and switched it out. That's a tiny miracle, right? Something that we're so grateful for. We can pull this out and go, oh, remember when the dryer broke and we got a new one? How cool is that? All of these little things. So that is a really fun thing to do, your gratitude jar. If you try any of these, let me know. Tag me on social media, post it in our group. I would love to see and hear from you how you're playing with some of these tools. But we know that gratitude is a really powerful practice. It affects our health and wellness, it affects our mindset. And that is such a cool thing to have on hand and do. So come back to the gratitude. All right, let's talk about changing our mindset for our health and wellness, which is really powerful. I'm going to be talking about some things from this book, the You Can Heal Your Life book from Louise Hay. I love anything by Louise Hay. I love some mindset stuff. And something that she talks about here is this exercise. So this is a challenge. If this resonates, you can try it. Of for the next month, say over and over to yourself, I approve of myself. Do this 300 or 400 times a day. Anytime that you think a negative thought, anytime that you think, oh, my hair is a mess, whatever, da da da, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. When you're worrying or you're going over your problems, I approve of myself. And just say that over and over and over. And it will bring up everything buried in your subconscious that is in opposition. Negative thoughts are going to come up of how can I prove of myself when I look like this, or it's when I'm this, or blah, blah, blah. This is part of the work. This is part of the practice. And part of self-acceptance is releasing other people's opinions and realizing that you're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. We think we are because we have thoughts, but we're actually the observer of our thoughts. So when you notice that coming up, you can think a new thought. This is that brain neural retraining that we're talking about. So not always simple, but it's a muscle that we can build and start to do that regularly. I approve of myself. I approve of myself. Something to play with. But that's really powerful. So often when we think that things are wrong with us, it's us expressing our own individuality, our own uniqueness with the world. And so we're building that self-worth muscle, and we're meant to be different. I think that's a powerful reminder that when we can accept this, then there's no competition, there's no comparison going on, that we know that we can approve of ourselves, that we're a unique individual, that everybody's here for different purposes, and we don't have to get into that comparison trap. But this is work from Louise Hay. Love her, from the You Can Heal Your Life book. But just start with that simple practice. I approve of myself. I approve of myself whenever that's coming up. There is a really great elimination diet from Dr. Aviva Ram. And she talks about eliminating shame, eliminating self-doubt, eliminating negative self-talk. And it's going to help you to feel lighter and feel free to go along this journey. And that's what we're talking about here. Another thought, if you want to take this to the next level, working on the I approve of myself, I approve of myself, you can do some mirror work. So Louise Hay talks about this. So does Dr. Christian Northrup, where Dr. Northrup actually has a prescription that she gives to her patients and says, to create health today, look at yourself in the mirror, especially at the parts you don't like, and say, I accept myself unconditionally right now. Expect critical thoughts are going to arise. That's normal. And accept those too. whatever thoughts come in. And in 30 days, your body image will be transformed. So you could go, I accept myself, or I approve of myself. I accept myself unconditionally right now. Those are very powerful thoughts. And you may find that that may be a little challenging for you to look into the mirror to say those things. But this is how we heal our body. This is the work of accepting and loving ourselves throughout this whole process. And it's really powerful. So I accepted myself. I approve of myself. We're holding that space. These are very, very powerful things to do. And if you are open to committing to them with consistency and doing it regularly, and that may mean putting little sticky notes up throughout your house. I approve of myself. I approve of myself. Putting timers on your phone, putting alerts that go off. It will change your perception and how you see yourself and your thoughts. It's very powerful. All right, now we're going to talk about forgiveness, because I feel that that is such a key piece of our health, our happiness, our well-being. And this is an exercise that you can do by yourself. It's an exercise that you could do with a partner if you have a partner. But if there's any resentment that you're holding on to, any anger that you have with another person, it's time to let that go. And it doesn't mean that we're condoning what that person did or saying that it's okay. We're saying that we love ourselves enough that we're going to let that go and release that so that we're not being held prisoner to that. And there's an oil for that called Forgive. So if you have Forgive oil, go and get it and put it on your wrists and behind your ears, and do a big inhale, or whatever calming essential oil you have. Maybe you have lavender or adaptive or balance or something else. And you sit quietly with your eyes closed, and you say, the person I need to forgive is, and I forgive you for. And you do this over and over, you will have many things to forgive for people. Some people, maybe it's 2 or 3 things. Other people, maybe it's a lot of things. And after, if you have a partner, if you have somebody who's doing this with you, they say, thank you. I set you free now. So you do that over and over again. The person I need to forgive is Susie, and I forgive you for blank. Thank you. I set you free now. And, or you could even write this out. Write out all of the things, but you have to get it out, either saying it or writing it out. And you clear as much of that as you can. And then say, I forgive myself for. And do that over and over again. I forgive myself for this. I forgive myself for this. Because sometimes the most challenging person to forgive is ourselves. And just being willing and open to do this forgiveness work can be really powerful. But I believe that as you forgive and you release and you let go, that that's really going to have an impact on your health and wellness moving forward. So much of this. Another tip, if you're open, is playing with muscle testing. And I have a video up on YouTube if you want to go and check that out and learn more about muscle testing. But muscle testing can be a really helpful tool that you can learn about, as well as sitting with your internal GPS system, right? We can think about something. Maybe you have a decision to make. And if you get quiet and close your eyes and you think about that one decision, notice how it feels in your body. And then think about the other decision and notice how that feels in your body. And they may feel different. A yes is going to feel tingly, maybe expansive. A no usually feels constricted and heavy and Maybe you even get physical pain in your body that pops up. So starting to just listen and tune in to your body's natural responses to things can be really helpful information. And then Brooke Castillo, if you follow her, she has a really great podcast. She asks this question: can you be at peace and content knowing that you won't be at peace and content 100% of the time? Can we get comfortable with the discomfort and the uncomfortable? Can we sit with that? And she asks a series of super thinking questions. For example, when this problem is solved, what is different? When this problem is solved, what doesn't change with that? What would I do if I knew what to do? And I love this because these questions are an invitation for us to go deeper. And instead of reaching for the answers that are outside of ourselves, it requires us to get quiet and tune back in with that intuition and that inner wisdom to get the answers that come up. What does my future self, who is already there and successful, need to do? Can you put yourself in the mindset and the framework of, I'm already there, and kind of work your way backwards with the steps? How is this situation for me and not against me? What are 10 ideas for XYZ? And just list them out. What could I do if I could not fail? So the next time that you have a problem or situation or something coming up and you don't know where to start or what to do, start to ask some of these questions and see what comes up. Instead of saying, I don't know. I don't know shuts down your brain. The brain is searching for an answer. And if you say, I don't know, it's going to accept that as the answer. But instead, if you can keep being open and asking these questions, you get to dig deeper into the underlying root cause and the idea around all of that, which is pretty powerful. One more tool in your toolbox before we wrap up. This is about neural retraining and retraining the brain. And this is a tool that I think can help everybody, but especially if you've really been dealing with some chronic health challenges or different things coming up, I would say grab your favorite calming essential oil for this one. I'm going to grab Adaptive. Grab whichever one you really love. I'm going to put some on my wrist, put some behind the ears, over my chest a little bit. And then I like to do a nice palm inhale. So grab your oils. Remember that the oils can support us physically, but also emotionally. And it's the emotional piece that's become my favorite way to use them. Take a couple deep inhales. And so we're going to start by just being aware and noticing when negative thoughts or feelings come up and saying, cancel, unhelpful, or simply calm. So awareness is that first state. And if you can get good at noticing your thoughts and being aware, that's how we can shift them. Cancel, unhelpful, calm. That just kind of helps the brain to go, whoa, that's not serving me. So let's let that go. And then you're going to come back to the breath. And I like to use the oils with this. You could put breathe on or eucalyptus or whatever your favorite is. But you're going to take a series of deep breaths and let it go. And as we say that, we're going to say a mantra, I am here now in this, with each breath. So for example, deep breath in, I, deep breath out, am, deep breath in, here, deep breath out, now, deep breath in, deep breath out, this. And you would do a couple series of that. I am here, now, in this. And as you're breathing, you're not trying to change anything. You're just noticing how your body feels, noticing if there's any discomfort or things coming in. We're not trying to change anything. We're just accepting that we are here now in this with our breath. So, whenever you feel that panic state, or maybe you're feeling anxious or stressed out, or again, notice the thought and say cancel, then we're going to go back to the breath, and it's going to start to soothe and calm that central nervous system. So, awareness, breathing. Then the next step is creating and crafting in with your that visualization, those emotions. And so I want you to close your eyes and think about a time when you felt happy and free and vibrant and good and healthy. And it may be a memory from childhood, but we're going to take that in as much detail as we can. Because remember, the brain can't differentiate between what's real and what we're imagining and focusing on with that visualization. So see it in as much detail as you possibly can. Is it a memory from your childhood? What are you doing? What did it feel like in your body? Actually imagine yourself there feeling those feelings of feeling vibrant and free and healthy and energetic and expansive. And notice what do you look like? What are you wearing? What sensations do you have in your body? What sounds are coming up? What smells are coming up? Like really anchoring into that when you were feeling so good and breathing deep into that place. And then I want you to visualize, what would it look like when you've met your future goals? Those big goals that you have on your heart, actually imagine that you've met them, that is happening right now. How do you feel? What do you look like? Who's celebrating with you? This could be a health and wellness goal, a business goal, a relationship goal, a financial goal. What are you working towards? And can you visualize it as if it's already happened and have the gratitude for it already happening? And anchor it into all of your senses like we did before. What sounds are happening? What smells are happening? How does that physically feel in your body? What are you wearing? What do you look like? That's very powerful. And now imagining this radiant white healing light coming down, starting at your head, moving all the way through your body, down into your toes, down into your feet, that's grounding into the earth, that energetic grounding, and visualizing healing happening in your body, in your nervous system, in your immune system, in your hormones and your hormonal cascades, all of that. And just breathing that in, deep breath in and deep breath out. And how different would your day be if you started or ended it like that? Or when you were feeling stressed out and that you needed support, you could use those tools to help you ground in and be more centered. And these are free, available to you at any time, bringing awareness to your thoughts, coming back to your breathing, and anchoring in with a past memory and that future memory that you want to create. And that's so important. So, so important. I do work with my business coach, Kristen Boss, and she talks regularly about how it's our thoughts that create our feelings, that then create our actions, that create our results. And if we can shift and change our thoughts, we can change everything else with that without changing the circumstance necessarily. That it can all come down to that thought work, that neural retraining that we can do both in business and in our health and in our wellness and lots of different things there. So that's really powerful too. How do we do that? We notice how you're feeling. If you're feeling heavy and stressed, that first sign, whatever it shows up in your body, maybe you get tightness in your jaw or in your shoulders or upset tummy or in your chest. Notice it and go, okay, what thoughts am I thinking? And then can I shift my thoughts? Can I change that around and see what else can come up? Is there a different thought that I can think of around that? I'd heard recently somebody saying that just simply changing the words have to, like I have to go to work or I have to do this, and changing it to I get to do this. I get to go exercise. I get to go to work, can change a lot. Same kind of thing, different thought, very different energy around that too. So I wanted to give you lots of tools to help your health and wellness and healing and move things forward for you in powerful directions. And I like to anchor in with essential oils for emotional support and grounding, but even something as simple as coming back to the breath can be really helpful. Do you have any questions? And I don't want this to feel overwhelming. So take one thing. What's one thing that you learned from our time together that you can start to implement? Maybe it's creating a vision board or a picture that helps you anchor in with your future self. Or maybe it's writing, I approve of myself, and putting it on a sticky note and putting it throughout your house and saying that regularly and regularly. Or maybe it's just being an observer of your thoughts and noticing when things feel really heavy and saying cancel or unhelpful and coming back to your breath. Use your oils, use these tools, and notice your words and notice your thoughts because they're really powerful. But just take one thing. Don't have to do all of this. But hopefully, how are you feeling now? Do we feel a little bit better? A little bit lighter? Yes. Oh, you've layered all the oils and feel bliss. I love it. I love that. Yeah. So we don't have to keep adding more and more things to our plate. We can come back to simplicity. And actually, James Clear, he's the author of Atomic Habits, which is a really amazing book. If you have not read that book, it's a really good one. And he says, when working on creating new habits and habit stacking, start with 2 minutes. Do a habit that only takes 2 minutes or less. So maybe that's you visualizing in the morning what your future self is going to look like and at night. Maybe that's coming back to your breath and putting on an essential oil, doing that for 2 minutes. But I would challenge you to pick one thing. Maybe it's the I approve of myself or adding in the oils with breath work, and actually schedule it and put it in your calendar. What days are you going to do it? What times? In what room? Where is the physical location that this is going to happen? And that's where you'll notice that you can start creating that automaticity with that new habit. So for example, if you're going to be thinking about your future self, you can say, I'm going to do this for 2 minutes or less in the morning, in my bedroom, when I'm still laying in bed, before I ever get up. And I want that goal to feel easy for you. I want it to feel that, oh, I've got this. And that's how we create transformation, with very small, consistent daily action towards those things. Thank you for being here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's so much fun. And if you start to implement these things in this class, let me know. Tag me on social media. I'd love to hear how they're working for you. All right, I will let you get back to your weekend. Have a wonderful, beautiful day, and we will see you soon. Bye.